The next one is, what is the average time period taken to diagnose SLE? Now, this is fairly variable. It can be a few months to a couple of years, but a few studies have shown that roughly the time taken to diagnose SLE is actually around 24 months, which is about 2 years. And that is a long period of time in an autoimmune disease like lupus, where there's so much of inflammation going on in different organ systems, because inflammation ultimately leads to damage. And when damage happens, there is not much we can do. So it also depends on the degree of awareness in the community. Now, if the awareness among the non-specialty health professionals, as well as in the public, is higher about lupus, then the time taken to diagnosis also comes down. So we have seen patients who come in within a few months, within a 1 or 2 months of onset of symptoms. At the same time, we see patients who come in after about 2 years, after trying different doctors, going to different health professionals, alternative medicines, and finally they end up with a rheumatologist. So what we need to do is to bring down the time period taken to diagnose. So the faster the diagnosis, the better the outcomes. In fact, if the diagnosis from the initial symptom of lupus happens within 6 months, then the number of flares, the amount of damage, outcomes are much, much better. Whereas later diagnosis always causes more of a problem. Another issue with early lupus is that the symptoms and signs of early lupus, it could be fevers, weight loss, loss of appetite, they all mimic a large number of diseases. So it's difficult often to differentiate early lupus from other conditions. It may take more of an experienced eye to actually pick up these symptoms and say, oh, this could possibly lupus, and we may have to test. And another issue is that with early lupus, the ANA often is negative, and that tends to be a red herring, where people think that because it is ANA negative, it's unlikely to be lupus. So early signs are often difficult to differentiate, which is why it takes a longer time taken to diagnose. But we are now trying to increase the awareness. That is the purpose of these awareness sessions, to increase the awareness in the community as well as the non-specialty health professionals, so that this time period from 2 years can be reduced to a few months. What she writes is, the real challenge comes at my workplace, the stress and struggle to educate people on what it is like to live with lupus. I have faced many people, including my family members, who doubt the veracity of my illness, believing it is all in my head. This is extremely painful and frustrating, causing anger and resentment. Thankfully, I have a boss who understands what autoimmune diseases are like and what they can do to someone. So I'm provided flexibility at work. This arrangement has helped me a lot in terms of managing my professional life with lupus. So this is from a real patient who has actually struggled with the disease and who is working successfully. So it is definitely possible. I extracted a few more lines, which I thought were quite moving. And she writes to say, on the outside, most of us look happy and healthy, but on the inside, we are fighting for our lives. I may have lupus, but lupus does not have me. So, dear friends, I know it's a long journey. I know it's very hard and difficult at times, but please believe that we are there with you to support you on this long journey with you, and always stay strong. Thank you.